The uncomfortable scene that ended the Brady Bunch. Kids who grew up in the late 60s and early 70s remember the Brady Bunch fondly. Adults too. Although this all-American sitcom was not a big hit when it aired in September 1969, it's since found its audience through syndication. Viewers were hooked on the feel-good storylines, the clean-cut blended family, the familial love that seemed to overcome all odds, and the clear-cut endings in every episode where problems are solved and squabbles are resolved. For many families, the Bradys were the near-perfect family who showed what genuine unity and love can do. But nothing lasts forever, even a sitcom about a lovely bunch of people. Here's a look back at this beloved TV series and the iconic scene that ended the Brady Bunch. Secrets behind the camera. Barry Williams played the eldest Brady son, Greg. He was about 14 years old when he starred in the series. As a young teen, of course, he had crushes, but who he had a crush on is quite surprising and a bit awkward. He had his eye on no other than the lovely Florence Henderson, who played Carol, his TV mom. At the time, Henderson was already 20 years older than Barry, but it didn't deter the young boy from asking her out for dinner. Henderson, who was 36 at the time, humored Williams, who was 16. She was happily married and had 4 children. They went out for dinner, and Barry's brother even drove them because the young man didn't have a driver's license. Henderson would recall years later that the incident was blown way out of proportion, and Williams admitted in his memoir that he merely wanted to spend some time with her. Barry did find a more age-appropriate date, but it was no less awkward, in a sense. He and Maureen McCormick, who played his TV sister Marcia, did go out for a while. Petty theft. While still a teen on the show, McCormick used to shoplift for the fun of it. According to Olsen, she would bring a pail along, and if she ever got caught, she'd point to her friend as the shoplifter. And Marcia, too. Maureen McCormick herself was no stranger to drug use. Early fame and other pressures led the actress to use illegal drugs, specifically cocaine. She was so dependent on drugs that she failed an audition for Raiders of the Lost Ark, a Steven Spielberg film. In her memoir, McCormick also revealed that she underwent 3 abortions before she turned 21. She said that she had each abortion at 18, 19, and 20. At the time, she was using drugs and had little control over herself. She also tried to maintain her enviable figure through dieting and later developed bulimia. She's since gotten her act back together. Based on a true story. The show was created by Sherwood Schwartz. He read an article in the Los Angeles Times about how there was a notable increase in the number of marriages between partners who had kids with previous partners. An idea was born and became the Brady Bunch. Schwartz was sued for plagiarism for the series. He was accused of stealing the idea from the Yours, Mine, and Ours 1968 film. Fortunately, he had notes to prove that the story idea was actually an original. Mike Brady is a real-life hero. In one scene during the final season of the show, the family was supposed to ride a roller coaster. A camera was attached to one of the seats, but Robert Reed, the actor playing Mike Brady, noticed that it was unstable. The crew decided to do a test run with an empty coaster, and when the run was over, the camera was no longer there. It likely hit an overhang during the run. Had Reed not noticed the camera, someone in the cast could have been injured seriously. Robert Reed was gay. Robert Reed was a classically trained, read Shakespearean, actor who was not comfortable with many of the storylines and visual gags used in the show because he preferred a serious approach. He was also gay but kept his personal life highly private. Due to the prevailing sentiments of the time, Reed playing a straight dad would not have been believable. Casting kids. Schwartz was in charge of casting the kids, and 264 young actors showed up. Since there were so many, Schwartz decided to test the kids. He laid out different toys on top of his desk before calling in each actor. Those who easily got distracted by the toys were rejected, and only those who focused on the audition were tested. Where's Tiger? Tiger the dog was killed in an accident during the filming of the first season. He was a trained dog and was still vital to the show. His trainer dropped by a dog pound and found a look-alike. Unfortunately, this doggo was untrained and did not care for directions. In some scenes, he had to have his collar nailed to the ground so he wouldn't leave. Because filming was getting difficult, the producers decided not to include him in shoots unless absolutely necessary. However, they kept his doghouse in the set, even if Tiger 2 wasn't present. Meet the Bradys. The Bradys are Mike, an architect who is a widower and had 3 sons, Greg, Peter, and Bobby, and Carol, a freelance writer slash sculptor slash activist who had 3 daughters, Marcia, Jan, and Cindy. Mike and Carol fall in love and move in together, making for a quite large blended family. Along with the family members, there was also Alice Nelson, their housekeeper, and Tiger, the boy's dog. They lived in the suburbs of LA in a 2-story house that Mike himself designed. Most of the episodes centered around the relationships of the family members and their small struggles, that they were not only a blended family, but also a family consisting of teens and preteens. Top-notch actors nearly played parts. 2 Oscar winners nearly played characters on the show. One was Gene Hackman, who was a strong contender for the role of Mike. He only lost out to Reed because he didn't have a high recognizability factor among TV viewers. The other was Jodie Foster, who auditioned for Cindy but ultimately lost to Susan Olsen. All went well for the 2, however. The year after the series premiered, Hackman starred in The French Connection, for which he won an Oscar. Jodie Foster, for her part, went on to deliver a great performance in Taxi Driver years later, a role that paired her with Robert De Niro and Harvey Keitel. Why Mike Brady is not in the last episode. Reed was increasingly becoming displeased with the scripts that came in for each episode. One day he read a script he hated so much that he demanded a rewrite or else he wouldn't show up for work. The producers wouldn't budge and Reed stayed away, which is why he doesn't appear in the finale. Father figure. According to Mike Luginland and Susan Olsen, Reed was a wonderful castmate who cared about them the way a father would. They even stated that he was a better father figure to them than their own fathers. He even brought them on vacation to London with the other Brady kids in tow. Too good looking. Jeffrey Hunter, famous for his roles in The Searchers and King of Kings, wanted the role of Mike Brady. The executives had to say no, however, because they thought that Hunter was too handsome and didn't look like the part of a fatherly middle-aged Mike. Greg wasn't that squeaky clean. Williams began smoking pot in his early teens. There's an episode in the series where he shot the scenes well high. He was actually on a day off and was smoking pot with friends when he suddenly got a call for a shoot. Toilets were taboo. Another taboo of sorts during 70s primetime TV was the filming of a toilet bowl. It was simply not appreciated, which is why it's never seen on TV shows of the time. Although the kids shared a bathroom, the toilet bowl was never seen. Interestingly, the toilet tank was allowed, but the producers decided to play safe and just simply not show the John at all. Knight was an unhappy Brady. In an interview with Oprah, Knight said that he felt exploited by his parents, particularly his mom, who forced him to act. He said that he was basically prostituted so he could make money for his family. He later appeared on reality TV, starring in My Fair Brady, with his then-fiancée, model Adrienne Curry. Shirley Jones was nearly Carol Brady. The role of Carol Brady was fiercely competed over by many actresses. In the beginning, however, the role was offered to Shirley Jones, but she turned it down. Jones later agreed to play another iconic role in The Partridge Family. Fluffy the cat. Tiger the dog was not the only Brady pet that appeared on the show. There was also Fluffy, who made an appearance in the honeymoon episode. The cat was chased by the dog and caused some serious damage during the wedding. After that scene, Fluffy simply disappeared and was not even mentioned for the rest of the series run. Real-life Cindy really did have a lisp. Olsen actually spoke with a lisp in real life. Although many people thought that Cindyslisp was the real thing, it was an adorable quirk of her character, but something that Olsen wanted to get rid of. She sought the help of therapists to help fix the problem until she was already a teenager. When the treatment didn't work, she decided to undergo a surgical procedure to get rid of her lisp completely. No divorce. The character of Carol Brady was originally written as a divorced woman, but the topic was too sensitive for the time period. In fact, the subject of divorce was a primetime TV taboo back then. This explains why her status was never discussed. The subject was noses. McCormick figured in a car accident that damaged her nose. Sensing an opportunity, the writers decided to incorporate the injury into an episode. To shoot the scene, a football hitting Marcia in the face was staged, but it didn't look natural. Then the ball was thrown at her face and actually connected. Perfect attendance. Of the main cast of the show, 3 actors were in each and every episode. Those were Florence Henderson, Barry Williams, and Ann B. Davis, who were present in all 117 episodes of the show. Reed could have been in every one of them, but he didn't appear in the finale due to a dispute. The reason why other Brady kids didn't appear on some episodes was budget constraints. The Brady Band. During the show's run, the kids also dabbled in music. They even cut several albums during their time on the show. As to be expected, these songs were popish and light, and they even covered Summer Breeze, a song by Seals and Crofts. Marcia and Michael. The Brady Bunch had an animated show, and the cast were at a recording studio to lend their voices to the cartoon counterparts. The Jackson 5 was visiting as well, and they met and mingled. McCormick and Michael Jackson later dated. Jackson was only around 12 and McCormick was around 14 at the time. McCormick said that it was a very innocent relationship for them both and that she started hanging out at the Jacksons' home. She grew closer to LaToya much more than she did to Michael, and they'd go shopping together. Not every Brady kid could sing. There were episodes in the series where the family would sing. Of the kids, Williams, McCormick, and Lukenland had the pipes, but Christopher Knight, who played Peter, couldn't sing. The solution was to have him lip-sync instead. In an interview years later as an adult, Knight said that he considered the singing scenes traumatic. Little Bobby developed alcoholism while young. Mike, who played youngest son Bobby, was not immune to substance experimentation that his older on-screen siblings did. His poison of choice was alcohol. He was a child growing up in front of the camera, which meant that his real-life childhood was not realized off-screen. In his 20s, he became an alcoholic, but thankfully got his act together. He's since quit show business and now owns a company making concrete countertops. Blonde hair hurts. If you haven't noticed the pattern yet, the Brady boys were all dark-haired, while the Brady girls were all blonde. It was just the thing of the show. Olsen was actually blonde, but her hair had to be the perfect shade of blonde. To achieve the color, the young child had to undergo regular hair bleaching procedures, beginning when she was just 8 years old. Eventually, the strong chemical treatments caused her hair to fall out in clumps. Olsen was not the only child to undergo hair treatments for the sake of the show. Lukenland was a natural strawberry blonde, and he had to dye his hair a dark shade of brown to keep up the visual aesthetic of the series. A Brady by any other name. The original title for the series was actually different. At one point, the producers wanted to use Yours and Mine, however, it sounded too similar to the comedy film Yours, Mine, and Ours. Another title was suggested as the Brady Brood. The Brady Home. The Brady Home exterior show features a 1,200 square foot house. In 2018, it was sold for almost $2 million and was purchased by HGTV with the purpose of remodeling it. The next year, a reality series titled A Very Brady Renovation was shot, and all the Brady kids made an appearance. The Brady kids dated. Other than McCormick and Williams, the other Brady kids also paired off. However, only one pair were busted by the police while together. Eve Plum, who played middle sister Jan, and Knight, who played middle son Peter, got together on the back of Knight's pickup truck. Knight set up the flatbed with candles and blankets and had a six-pack prepared. And then the police came and interrupted their little date. Classic styles. The Brady kids, being preteens and teenagers at the time of shooting, begged the Schwartz to update their wardrobes so they could wear clothes that were in fashion at the time. Schwartz refused, stating that doing so would age the series, and once they go on syndication, the clothes will quickly look outdated. Recycled interior. The Brady house interior appeared in several other shows such as Hawaii Five-0, Mannix, and Mission Impossible. It also appeared in the 1975 film Bug, a sci-fi horror. Fake glass doors. The Brady home interior featured glass sliding doors, but in reality, the doors were made up of frames and no glass. This was to avoid reflected glare from the lights during shooting.